are some things you can't unsee, some faces you can't forget. And in America, from the lonely back roads of Texas to the snow-covered cabins of Vermont, people have been opening their doors to something that shouldn't exist. They call them the black-eyed children. And once you see them, they don't leave your mind. They don't knock twice, and they always want to come inside. The first documented encounter happened in 1996. A journalist named Brian Bethel was sitting in his car outside a movie theater in Abilene, Texas, writing a check when two boys approached his window. Normal kids, he thought, maybe 10, 12 years old, wearing hoodies. But something felt wrong. When they asked for a ride home, Bethel looked up, and that's when he saw them. Their eyes, completely black. No whites, no irises, just voids. He said every instinct in his body screamed at him to drive away, and he did. But here's the thing. Bethel wasn't the last. After he shared his story online, hundreds of reports flooded in. People from all over the country, all describing the same thing. Children, pale skin, emotionless faces, and those eyes, solid black, like they'd been dipped in ink. They never blink, they never smile, and they always ask the same question. Can we come inside? Let's go back to where it started. Tyler, Texas, 2003. A woman named Carla was home alone one Thursday night. Her husband was working late. It was past midnight when she heard the knocking. Soft at first, then louder. She looked through the peephole and saw two kids standing on her porch, a boy and a girl, maybe 9 or 10 years old, wearing old-fashioned clothes, dark jackets, pale faces. She opened the door halfway. "Are you lost?" she asked. The boy stared at her. Didn't blink. "We need to use your phone," he said. His voice was flat, monotone, like he was reading from a script. Carla felt her stomach turn. Something about them felt wrong. "Where are your parents?" she asked. The girl tilted her head. "We need to come inside," she said. "You have to let us in." That's when Carla noticed their eyes. Black, completely black, like staring into an empty well. She slammed the door and locked it. The knocking continued, harder, faster. She called 911, but by the time the police arrived, 10 minutes later, the children were gone. No footprints, no sign they were ever there. Carla moved out of that house 3 weeks later. She still won't talk about what she felt that night, but neighbors said she looked haunted. Now let's move west. Highway 50, Nevada, 2008. They call it the loneliest road in America. And for good reason. A truck driver named Marcus was hauling freight across the desert at 3 a.m. when he saw them. Two kids, standing in the middle of the road, miles from anywhere. No houses, no cars, nothing. He slammed on the brakes, jumped out. "What the hell are you kids doing out here?" The boy, maybe 12, turned slowly. "Our car broke down," he said. But Marcus didn't see a car, didn't see tire tracks, didn't see anything. "Where's your car?" Marcus asked. The girl pointed into the darkness. "Back there. Can you give us a ride?" Marcus grabbed his flashlight. That's when he saw their eyes. Black, empty. He felt his chest tighten. His hands started shaking. "Get out of the road," he said. backing toward his truck. The kids didn't move, didn't blink, just stared. Marcus climbed back into his cab, locked the doors, and drove. He looked in his rearview mirror. The kids were still standing there, watching him. He said it felt like they were looking right through him, into him. He reported it to the Nevada Highway Patrol, but they found nothing. No kids, no broken down car, nothing. Ohio, 2011. A suburban neighborhood outside Columbus. A woman named Jennifer was getting ready for bed when her power went out. The whole house, pitch black. She grabbed her phone for light and walked to the breaker box in the basement. That's when she heard the knocking. 3 slow knocks, then silence. 3 more. She climbed back upstairs and looked out the window. 2 children, standing on her front porch. A boy and a girl, maybe 8 years old, wearing matching dark clothes. She turned on her phone's flashlight and opened the door a crack. "Can I help you?" The boy spoke first. "We're lost. We need to call our mom." Jennifer hesitated. "Where do you live?" The girl tilted her head. "We need to come inside. Please, let us in." Something about the way she said please made Jennifer's skin crawl. It wasn't a question. It was a command. She shined her light on their faces. Their eyes. Oh God, their eyes. Black, soulless, like looking into a nightmare. Jennifer slammed the door and ran to her bedroom. The knocking continued, louder, more insistent. She called the police, but the knocking stopped before they arrived. When officers checked the porch, they found something strange. 2 small, wet footprints. But it hadn't rained in 3 days. And the prints, they didn't lead anywhere. They just ended. Jennifer had security cameras installed the next week. But here's what still keeps her up at night. When she reviewed the footage from that evening, the timestamp jumped. 11:47 p.m. to 12:19 a.m. 32 minutes. Just gone. And she has no memory of that time. None at all. Vermont. Winter of 2014. A man named David rented a cabin in the woods for a quiet weekend. No cell service. No neighbors for miles. Just him and the snow. On his second night, he was reading by the fireplace when he heard children's voices outside, singing. He looked out the window, but saw nothing. Just darkness and falling snow. Then, the knocking started. David opened the door. 2 kids, a boy and a girl, soaking wet, shivering. "Please," the girl said. "We're so cold. Can we come in?" David reached for a blanket, but something stopped him. Their eyes. Black. Completely black. He stepped back. "Where are your parents?" The boy's face didn't move. "They're coming. We just need to get warm." David's instincts screamed at him. "I'll call someone," he said, reaching for his phone. When he looked back up, they were gone. Vanished. He ran outside. No footprints in the snow. Nothing. Like they were never there. David packed his things and left that cabin the same night. He never went back. And he never rented another isolated cabin again. Oregon, 2016. A gas station outside Portland. Late night. The clerk, a guy named Ryan, was watching security monitors when 2 kids walked up to the door. The store was closed, but they knocked anyway. Ryan ignored them at first. Then they knocked harder. He walked to the glass door. "We're closed," he said. The boy pointed to the phone on the counter. "We need to call our dad." Ryan felt uneasy. Something was off. "Where's your dad?" The girl pressed her hand against the glass. "Please, we need to come inside." That's when Ryan noticed. Their eyes, black, empty, like staring into nothing. He backed away from the door. The kids didn't leave. They just stood there, staring, for 20 minutes. Ryan called the police. When officers arrived, the kids were gone. But here's the terrifying part. When Ryan reviewed the security footage the next day, something was wrong. The camera caught the kids approaching. It caught Ryan walking to the door. But when Ryan played back the audio, the kids never spoke. Their mouths moved, but there was no sound. Just silence. And in the reflection of the glass door, Ryan could see something behind them. A shadow. Tall. Watching. But when he turned around that night, nothing was there. North Carolina, 2018. A man named Thomas was home with his teenage daughter when they heard knocking at 2 a.m. Thomas grabbed a baseball bat and looked through the peephole. Two boys, maybe 10 years old, pale, wearing dark hoodies. "Who are you?" Thomas shouted through the door. "We need help," one of them said. "Our mom is hurt." Thomas's daughter came downstairs. "Dad, don't open it." But Thomas felt compelled, like something was pulling him toward the door. He reached for the handle. His daughter grabbed his arm. "Dad," their eyes. Thomas looked again. Black, solid black. No pupils, no reflection, just darkness. And that's when it happened. Thomas felt his body freeze. He couldn't move, couldn't speak. He was still conscious, still aware. But it was like his muscles had turned to stone. The boys stared at him through the glass. "Let us in," they said in perfect unison. "You have to let us in." Thomas's daughter started screaming, shaking him, but he couldn't respond. She called 911, sobbing into the phone. The paralysis lasted almost 5 minutes. When he could finally move again, the boys were gone. Thomas went to the hospital. Doctors found nothing wrong, no explanation for what happened, but he describes the feeling as not being in control of his own body, like something else was trying to take over. He and his daughter moved to a different state 6 months later. They don't talk about that night, but Thomas says he still has nightmares, dreams where he opens the door, and when he wakes up, he swears he can hear children's voices outside his window. So what are they? Some people say they're demons, entities that feed on fear, on invitation, because that's the pattern. They always ask permission. Can we come in? Like vampires, like they can't cross the threshold without being invited. Others believe there's something else. Alien hybrids, government experiments gone wrong. interdimensional beings slipping through cracks in reality. But here's what we know for sure. The encounters are increasing. Reports have tripled in the last 5 years. More sightings, more stories, more people waking up in the middle of the night to find pale faces pressed against their windows. And the one thing every witness agrees on: the overwhelming sense of dread, the primal fear that tells you, do not let them in. Do not open that door. Because the people who did, well, some of them are never quite the same. Some of them disappear, and some of them we never hear from again. So tonight, when you're home alone and you hear a knock at your door, look through the peephole first. Check their eyes. Because if they're black, if they're empty, if those children ask to come inside, don't open that door. Don't invite them in. And whatever you do, don't look too long into those eyes. Because sometimes, when you stare into the darkness stares back, and it remembers you. And if you enjoyed this story, make sure to hit that like button. Share this video with a friend who loves creepy stories. And don't forget to subscribe and press the bell icon, because this is just the beginning. The next story might be darker, and you won't want to miss it.